Hi, friends. Thanks for joining us. Smash that subscribe button. Leave a like, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Benny, where can they find us on social media?
You can find us, Ray Benny Sports. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everyone's favorite TikTok. And of course, we're on Reddit. Don't forget to check us out there. Join the conversation. Hey, when you got time, leave us a rating on your favorite podcast provider too, please.
Yeah. Even if you don't have time, squeeze it in there.
Exactly.
That's what she said. Oh, no. Our episode already is ruined. We got CFL talk, we got NFL talk, NHL talk, Stanley Cup, but let's start off with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in a battle at Mosaic Field Stadium, whatever.
Isn't it the Bomber Stadium?
They own it pretty good. There's a lot of good home cooking going on at Mosaic. A lot of blue and gold food. Sorry to say, it's the truth though.
It is.
Other than that darn Grey Cup.
Oh yes, I was thinking it. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I let you do it.
Thank you.
You brought it up.
Well, let's look at the good, the bad, and the ugly of this high-scoring game in Regina. Trevor Harris, extremely efficient, and finding perhaps the next great Canadian receiver. Holy cow. There are some truths revealed about the Bombers. Ugly truths, good truths. Let's start with the good truths. What do you got?
Janarian Grant to me, the good, man. I mean,
yeah,
like we talked about him last week. Not the greatest of games. A fumble last week, didn't look good. We thought he would bounce back, and he did with that electrifying punt return for a touchdown, breaking 8 tackles. Man, the guy was gassed by the time he got there. But again, to me, that's the turning point of the game. The Bombers were kind of taking over at that point. Momentum was on their side, and that almost put the final nail in the coffin, even though it was still early in the game. It was like the end of Saskatchewan after that.
You got what was the yardage on that punt return?
Oh, I don't have it handy, no.
Whatever the yardage was, if you come up with that number, add 65 to it. Yeah. He went from one sideline literally to the other. That's crazy. Also, Dalton Schoen looked really good. An amazing and gritty performance. Dude took hits. I can see why he's chilling today away from the practice field, and he deserves it. He held on to those balls, took catches in the middle. I don't know why this guy's not an NFL team. Like, he is a possession receiver that runs beautiful routes, has great hands, and is tough as nails. Mind-boggling performance. So he was definitely part of the good.
Yeah, he's gonna, if he continues this pace or has the same type of season as last year, he's got to get a better look in the NFL, I would think. I mean, I don't hate him coming back to the Bombers at all ever, but
no,
you think he'd get a chance, at least an opportunity to show what he can do in a training camp.
Yeah, and of course, and considering what his probably dream is and financially what would be best for him, just mind-boggling he's not in the NFL.
Yeah.
Any more good that you have on your mind?
Speaking about offense again, there, Zach Collaros, man. No mistakes, really. 292, 2 touchdowns, ran one in. Like, he looked poised out there. You know, and he found the guys that were open. He found his guy Dalton Schoen, Drew Wojciechowski also. You know, he got a bunch of the grabs as well. So Zach Collaros, to me, so far, first 2 games is looking like the MOP.
Talking about Zach Collaros, I'm going to preempt and go to the ugly for a second. He's been playing for a long time. Why can't he slide properly? That's one of the ugliest things I've seen. All props to MOP, best quarterback in Winnipeg in a long time, probably since Kahari. But just saying, when he runs with the ball, I'm like, oh, he can't slide. He's going to run himself into the ground or something. Any which way, I'm just being nitpicky. I'm just being fun. And the O-line, I thought they were really good. Collaros, I think 1 sack against a really good D-line that put 5 up against Edmonton. Got over 100 yards rushing collectively. So, I thought the O-line was also good.
Which is good because we gave Saskatchewan's D-line the edge over our D-line, right? And we thought they'd do some damage. And again, our O-line in back-to-back weeks with Hamilton and now Saskatchewan have held off those guys at bay.
Yeah, and it was their dime back that got the sack. It was Chris Edwards on the blitz. Yeah. None of those amazing D linemen. And they're still very good, but props to the O-line for doing that. So we move on to the bad.
Yeah, one more thing. I'm going to give it out to Celestin Haba for his strip sack of Harris, filling in for Jeff Coate. Looking pretty good so far. Hopefully he just gets better game after game, but nice to have him out there.
What a segue to the bad. Yes, they did get to Trevor Harris, but there was not a consistent pass rush, which gave him a lot of time to sit back there and a lot of time for routes to develop. Like those, 2-move routes that that Emilus kid got a couple touchdowns with. That's like a lot of time to sit back there and wait. So, it's not a bad D line. I'm just saying in the concept of the good, the bad, and the ugly, it was just a little bad in regards to the minimal pressure they got on Trevor Harris.
Yeah, and when they did, they missed sacks on him as well. I think it was
Absolutely.
Big Hill had one. It was at the end of the first half, right? He had the opportunity once right before Saskatchewan got the touchdown. He had a chance to take him down. Didn't take him down. Harris got away and completed a pass. So
didn't he also duck under Willie Jefferson for one as well?
He may have. I missed a bit of the game, so he may have ended up getting that. But yeah, and the funny thing is he's not an elusive quarterback really at all, ever, maybe, but really not at the age of 37, kind of thing.
So much for that hip injury.
Yeah.
Any bad for you?
To me, the run game, I know they ended up with a lot of yards, but it wasn't as crisp kind of thing. Oliveira, before he went out injured, only 10 carries, 42 yards. It was kind of a grind out there, and they got Augustine finished it off well. So they looked good late in the fourth quarter with the game out of hand. But I want to see a little bit more out of that to kind of complement this passing game, because if they can get both sides ticking, they'll be well on their way.
I wonder if this whatever thorax chest injury was something that he was dealing with in the preseason, because we saw him sit out, didn't play any snaps, talk about injury. So I wonder if that's something that's bothersome. Hopefully it gets taken care of. Hopefully he's available for the game on Thursday. Short week for BC, any which way.
I don't think he practiced at all either today, Oliveira. No. So
had a day off.
Yeah,
maintenance. The bad. Any other bads?
No.
Gotcha. The ugly. You go first.
And I put it in the ugly, and I don't know if it's necessarily totally ugly, but the D to me as a whole, just the amount of yards they gave up to Harris, over 400 yards. Desmond Lawrence didn't look great. He got beat a couple times in the coverage there. They kept Saskatchewan's run game in check, which we were scared of going into the season, that the Bombers' rush defense wouldn't be as good. But again, we talked about it. They missed a few sacks. They missed a few tackles, which would have kept the numbers down a bit. But, and I can't really say much, because the defense has saved this offense and this team as a whole for the last few years. So I don't want to blame them and say, oh my God, I'm worried here. But it wasn't a great effort all around. But again, a lot of yards, but they didn't give up a lot of points after.
Yeah, I'm in the same vein as you, the defense, but more specifically, the secondary looked really bad. And I know Lawrence let a couple of touchdowns go, but then again, it was because Harris was allowed to sit back in the pocket and allow him to do a couple moves in and out. And really, when Lawrence was on the island, that's tough to cover for that long. And also the other receivers on, like Bain, he went 6 for 125. Tevin Jones, 9 for 121. So it's not all on Lawrence, although he did look bad, but a lot of online criticism on Lawrence right now. But that whole unit, the secondaries, and we heard in the preseason, they're not looking for the best guys. They're looking for the best unit. And this secondary can still be in flux as the season goes on. So I think there will be some changes, or else there'll be some coaching up, and we'll see what Lawrence does next game. Who knows? I wasn't there at practice to watch, and I didn't see the formation. So that was the ugly for me. More the secondary, but also the defense.
Yeah, and you still have Winston Rose on the 6th game and Parker on the 6th game as well here, right? That can come in at some point if Lawrence is still struggling, or any one of these guys is struggling at some point. So they have backup options there if they have to take over at some point. So,
and it shows that they're really missing Jeffcoat, because when you got that pass rush on both edges, he has a little bit more time. You can't cover for that long on that big field in the CFL. And they started showing the blitz, and then they stopped a little. I think they got to start sending a blitz if Jeffcoat doesn't show up. Sorry, not show up. If he's not available to play. I think they got to send that blitz a little more, especially with a quarterback like Trevor Harris. Get in his face. He'll get 1 or 2 slants here and there, but Brandon Alexander, he'll cover the middle, but just show some pressure. I don't know.
That was the play that I'm talking about on Big Hill there, where he just missed the sack. They sent like 6 guys on that play, and Big Hill got straight through to him, right? It just ended up being a missed sack, missed tackle kind of thing. But and then after that, they kind of held back and rushed only a 3 or 4, whatever it was, and he picked them apart, and they ended up getting a touchdown late in the first half. So
they got to tighten that up, especially with BC coming to town.
No,
we'll get into.
I mean, yes,
we'll get into that in a second. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's BC. I'll check that though. I have tickets, but I'll check. So let's go into week 2 grades for each CFL team on how they did in the past in week 2. Let's go from west to east, coast to coast. Let's start with the BC Lions. You can go first.
I'm going to give him a B+. Good effort. LL Cool J was good. Good to see him rocking. He kept his shirt on though.
Fail on the betting.
Yeah, it wasn't much of a fight from the Elks. The Elks D played well, so give BC's offense a bit of a test. I may have gone higher. I've been hovering around a B. Even Vernon Adams, tons of yards, but only finished one touchdown, lots of field goals. So the running game took one. Mazzell again, 93 yards on the ground. He's looking pretty good in his first 2 games. And BC Lion D, I know it was only Cornelius, but they pitched a shutout.
And Adams threw another misguided interception.
Which they got a break on, right?
Oh, exactly. They had the fumble.
Yeah.
But goodness gracious, what was the need to throw that ball?
I don't know.
And we talked about that last week. It was one of the questions going into this week. Yeah. Can he get over that inconsistency and that mistake? And it was there. So far he can't.
And the Bombers will make them pay for it. If he wants to throw errant passes like that. So
absolutely, I give him an A-. So we're kind of in the same area. Of course, there was absolutely no pushback. Talking about pushback, there was no pushback from the Elks. There's a shutout, first shutout in BC or from BC since 1977, 30-0 against the Argos. In the CFL, you gotta get at least a rouge.
Yeah, you should be able to, right?
So yeah, I gave BC an A- on that. Those interceptions by Adams, they're momentum killers.
Yeah,
and they only scored 1 touchdown this game. Again, Edmonton has a good defense.
Yeah, I'll give Edmonton that.
Yeah, they do have Chris Jones knows what he's doing on defense. And you know what?
Let's
talk about Chris Jones. To be honest, the LL Cool J is probably the most exciting part of that game. That was a pretty boring game.
It was.
Sorry to say.
Well, when you're the opposing quarterback only throws for just over 100 yards, it's not going to be a good one. And they only rushed for like 40 something yards. So
did he break 100? Was it like 92, 93?
Cornelius?
Yeah.
He did, but I think probably with all the sacks and, net yardage and that, it probably ended up being under 100.
He's under 100. So let's keep talking about Edmonton. They got the big F from me. They are horrible. And this guy's doubling down. Chris Jones, he's doubling down on Cornelius. Put Trey Young in. My goodness, committing to this guy with 0 points.
Did you say Trey Young?
Who did I say?
Trey Ford?
Trey Ford? Who's Trey Young?
Basketball
rapper?
Isn't he?
Or is he he plays for Atlanta. That's right. I'm horrible with names, so it don't matter. I'm just talking off my head now. So I got the Trey right. But you should consider Trey Young even, because Cornelius is not doing good. Oh my. And Eugene Lewis 1 for 9 on 3 targets. Get out of here. Edmonton gets an F for me.
Yeah, I agree. F as well. And I mean, there's not much you can say here besides, like we said, maybe the D played a decent game, holding BC to only 1 touchdown. They gave up a lot of yards, but first shutout loss in 47 years for Edmonton. That's all I got to say. F.
And F to those fools online who are saying, oh, you see, they shouldn't have changed their name. Can you shut up? Yeah, can you research correlation against causation, you dummy? Like, other than you being stupid, break it down for me how this losing is attached to the name change.
Yeah. Good God.
There are some stupid ass people out there. Let's talk about their neighbors to the south, Calgary. What do you give them?
What did I give them? I ended up giving them a B. Jake Meyer looked better. A lot of yards after the catch. Dedrick Mills filled in pretty good for Kadeem Carey. And Beggleton and Malik Henry were a force. They went off on offense there. And the D just shut down that poor Ottawa offense. So B for Calgary this week.
I also gave a B to Calgary. A small step forward from last week, but this is more a reflection on how bad Ottawa is and how they can't hold on to the ball. We'll talk about Ottawa in a sec. Let's go to Saskatchewan. Oh, did you have anything else to say about Calgary?
No, go ahead.
Let's talk about, I like their helmets though and their face masks. I like that combination. It's pretty nice. Saskatchewan Roughriders, I'll give them a B+. I know they lost, but I'm impressed. They went toe-to-toe, punch for punch with a very good Bomber offense until the third quarter. Trevor Harris put over 400 yards up. He loves to play the Bombers, that guy.
Yeah.
And he gets big plays and chunk yards. So I'll give them a B+. And they found a great new Canadian receiver. They didn't find him, but he got highlighted. It was awesome.
I'll give them a B. I did like their effort. I was shocked that their offense was able to move up and down on our D like that. But I didn't like their D. They hung in there for a bit, but then once the Bombers said enough is enough, they ended up taking over that game, and there was no resistance there from the Saskatchewan D. Especially late in that second half, middle of third quarter, second half. And then the special teams, they got burnt. on that big play. So another factor of their team there that didn't end up playing well. I just want to point something out, two different aspects of this game, that the Bombers were 3rd and 2 on Saskatchewan's 10, down 21-17, and they went for it.
Yeah.
Pass interference, they plunged it in, got the 1-yard touchdown, right? And that kind of stopped Saskatchewan's momentum because they scored late in the first half and early in the second half.
Yeah.
Later on, Saskatchewan has kind of the same thing, a little bit farther. It's 3rd and 10 at the 11. But instead of going for it, you're down 2 scores. And this is what drives me crazy about Dickinson. And it's got to drive Saskatchewan fans nuts. And he did this all last year. They kicked a field goal to go down 11. Dude,
what difference does that make?
Exactly. Kill the momentum of the Bombers have, get a touchdown or attempt a touchdown and see what happens. Right? Yeah, so that to me, again, would affect their grade and Dickinson's coaching. It just drives me crazy. I like it as a Bomber fan, but I mean, come on, man. You gotta go for it at some point.
Hey, you know what I'm gonna try to do to change momentum? I'm gonna try to make a 2-score game into a 2-score game.
Exactly.
Come on, guys.
And you still need a 2-pointer to get that 2-score game.
Yeah, outcoached. Oh my goodness, again. It's so frustrating. And we're not even Saskatchewan fans. We're feeling for you.
They're frustrating me, and I'm not. Exactly.
Oh, Dickinson, Craig. Winnipeg, center of Canada. I'll give them. You go first. Sorry, I went first last time. You go first.
I'm going to be a little bit harsher on them this week. I'm going to give them a B+. Again, special teams, Sean, the offense was good, but the D to me kind of suffered in this game and weren't as crisp. So I'll leave them at a B+ this week.
I'll give them an A. Offense looked unstoppable, like Caleros and MOP form. I'm worried that Oliveira's hurt though.
Yeah, that's the question. That's a big question right now, right?
Didn't look good on the sideline there, but yeah, I'll still give them an A for that one. And that's actually probably more respect for Saskatchewan than it is for actually props to Winnipeg, because Saskatchewan played a damn good game.
Yeah.
Toronto, I'll give them a B+. Solid performance by Chad Kelly to start the game. Fizzled out a bit. But, he had to lean on that running game, and they found that 2-back running game. I underestimated how good they would be coming out of the blocks, but Harris got a touchdown. B+ for Toronto.
Only 4 carries, though. But there was lots of times that him and AJ. What did you say?
I was about to say something. He's getting, but no, that's fine. Respect.
There was lots of times that him and AJ Ouellette were actually on the field together as well. So a new wrinkle in that Dinwiddie offense. But I'm going to give them a B+ as well. Chad Kelly first half looked pretty good in that debut. 3 rushing touchdowns. Second half not so much. He kind of faded a little bit, and they got some scores late in the game. But D for Toronto looked good. Passing game, that pass rush was ferocious on Bo Levi. Not so good in the run game though, giving up 157 to Butler. So they got some things to fix up. But yeah, they looked fairly impressive.
Do you think that a power running game or a 2-back running system will ever become the fad in the CFL again?
No.
All the space out there.
Yeah.
And the fact that almost every team now is playing with a dime back. Like, we saw how much more effective the running game was in Winnipeg when they were playing a tight end.
Yeah.
You had an extra blocker out there. So I don't know. Winnipeg, if you want to do more of a power running game, go ahead. It'd be fun to watch. Just saying. Teams are primed to get run over. Like with that dime back and taking a linebacker, they're primed to get run over.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
No one will want to go backwards, but I'm just saying. Hamilton, you got a grade for them?
I'm going to give them an F, man. I tried to maybe give them something else, but their offense looked terrible again. Besides Butler, Bo Levi struggled, got hurt. Schultz actually looked okay when he came in.
He did.
Hey?
He did.
Yes. So even if Bo Levi's not out, do you turn to Schultz? Yeah, you might as well at this point, right? But and then D, I mean, struggled in the first half, got better in the second, but still, all those big pieces are not gelling together yet.
Yeah, that D-line's disappointing. I was thinking about giving them an F, but I can't give them an F because I gave an F to the team that got shut out. And I don't think they were that bad. Because, that Schlitz, the guy, Schultz, he did good. And that Turnowitz got a nice touchdown. I can't pronounce names for nothing tonight. But where is that D-line? That should be an amazing D-line. And And there is some chemistry issues still with Bo Levi earlier on because they did move the ball a bit. They got into scoring territory. 2 interceptions, I think, in the end zone, both of them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's almost there, but then, he got hurt. So I don't know. Duke Williams looked okay.
Did you see Tim White get pissed off?
Well, for other whole team's getting pissed off at each other.
Yeah, the guy missed the block. I don't think the guy had the opportunity to block anyways. It was just great play by a DB there.
Yeah.
And he lit Tim White up pretty good, but yeah, not good when he's slapping guys and his own teammates and pushing them in the head.
No, there's going to be issues. Orlando Steinauer.
Yeah.
Ottawa, I'm going to give them a D as well. They need to get that QB in there because it's not Arbuckle. I'd say let that other kid play already. That Tyree Adams. He looked pretty decent at the end too. And if you don't want to start him, which I might not do, put a package, get something ready for him. So you put him in, throw some wrinkles because other than that, their defense is awesome.
I mean, they weren't great this week against Jake Mayer and Dedrick Mills. So
they were good as long as they could be.
Yeah, they were on the field for a lot. That offensive,
and they kept the game. They kept them in it. Like they didn't get blown out that bad. They kept them in it score-wise.
And that kick return kept the Ottawa in it. That was the only touchdown they can get. Again, two games, no offensive touchdowns.
Yeah, and didn't Calgary get a weird one where they went for short yardage? It popped out, and then the guy ran it around.
No, did they?
Touch for a touchdown. So that's not really. That's a fluke defense. Their defense is really good.
They are, but that offense is not helping. I don't know if and it's Nick Arbuckle, big time for me. I'd like to see Mazzoli with Kahari Jones calling the plays, and before making a rash judgment if that if it's on Kahari or not. But right now, like you said, Tyree Adams came in, looked good, but still made mistakes as he went along. So I would start him if Mazzoli's not ready to go after the bye. Yeah, it's enough to make Arbuckle. You got to see, and hopefully Mazzoli's ready to go. I ended up giving them an F as well. I know I agree with you on the Elks getting the F and shut out. They should be the only ones, but I ended up going with an F, and I'll stick with it.
The only reason why Ottawa got a D is because of that defense. That got graded up.
There you go.
That's pretty smart. I'm pretty proud of myself. CFL attendance issues. Friends, put your grades for your team in the comments below. CFL attendance issues. You know what? BC broke 30,000. That's great, but they didn't have 30,000 by halftime. Ottawa at 18,000. Not bad. Saskatchewan didn't hit 30,000. Toronto didn't hit 16,000. Are there issues in attendance?
You know what? We see this a lot with other leagues. The NHL has struggled in Winnipeg too lately. There's a lot going on still right now with, people got to choose what they can do and what they can't do with rates and stuff like that. So it's week 2. I'm not going to give it too much of an issue at this point, or hopefully it gets better. But like you say, BC was 33, but a lot of it is for LL Cool J kind of thing, and then they disperse. So
the game wasn't good either.
Hey,
it wasn't a good game either.
No, and that's the thing. And then some of these teams, like even the Elks, right? How many people are going to show up in their next home game where they haven't won in a long time? So yeah, maybe I said there was no issue, but maybe there is actually an issue when I start thinking deeper about this. So
yeah,
you wish there was more in Toronto, right? Than there would have been for a Grey Cup champ and home opener and stuff like that. Winnipeg, there should be a huge crowd in Winnipeg this Thursday for that tilt against BC. So
there will be.
Hopefully these other places, Calgary is their next game. We'll see, because they were pretty low at their home opener as well.
And we were going to talk about this, or it was on the agenda. And sometimes we can talk about things. Sometimes we don't have time. We're going to talk about this just for a brief moment before we move on to some Winnipeg Jets talk. But we talk about quarterback play. And there's a great point made online about CFL attendance declining about the same time as primetime quarterbacks in the CFL declining. Because you look at Toronto, they're averaging 30,000 fans between 2005 and 2008. They didn't win a Grey Cup at all, but they had Damon Allen. They had a Kerry Joseph who won a Grey Cup for a couple of years. But since then, who are the quarterbacks? Who are the quarterback draws in this league?
Claros right now? Maybe that's probably it. Maybe Chad. You think Chad Kelly would be up there, especially if that decent performance yesterday. Yeah. But other than that, I mean, Trevor Harris looked good last week, but he's not going to draw guys in. Vernon Adams, if he can continue maybe getting better, he might draw some people in. Yeah. But other than that, Cornelius, no. Jake Meyer, no.
Like Toronto, they fell in love with Damon Allen because he had the MOP season, and then he had the passing record coming up, the pursuit of that. So that drew fans in. So Toronto, 15,000 is unacceptable. Unacceptable. And I've said it a billion times. So should we just move on?
Yeah, but yeah, it's
Like, and I
CFL
don't
play.
want,
Some of these teams they are not good, especially in the East right now. Right,
yeah,
Ottawa and Hamilton are both 0-2.
I don't want to
So
smash on and say Toronto, the Argos don't have a fan base. I think they do have a fan base, and those are the 15,000 who show up at every game, and that's a
yeah,
pretty solid fan base.
yeah, the crowd looked totally into it. I know there was a bunch of Hamilton fans yesterday, but the crowd looked into it and looked like a
Yeah,
good crowd. And to me, at times before I even kind of saw more of the empty seats, it looked like I was like, wow, this is one of the biggest crowds we've had. Then you kind of see the rest of the stadium, and you're like, well, okay, maybe not so good, but
the upper deck was empty.
yeah, yeah, and some end zones, and so even in Saskatchewan, you're watching those games, and it's hard for me to see empty seats in Saskatchewan. I always think it's full, right? And there was empty
Yeah,
seats around the corners of the end zones and stuff like that. So
but for like Maple Leaf Sports, the money they have to put into now catch up to invest to get a new fan base or new fans, is that worth the profit margin of a CFL team, business wise, not passion wise?
probably not, unfortunately.
Just
So
saying.
yeah.
Just saying. Winnipeg Jets free agent. Who's a priority? Such a sad note. Sorry, Toronto. I really do want to see that franchise flourish. BMO Field should have been this great new step, and it's not happening. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. It's not bloody happening. Ooh. Winnipeg Jets free agents. Who's priority? Who stays? Who goes? You should go because not leave. You should go
You
first
want me
because
to go?
no. I've been talking on a tangent, so you go first.
Jets won't sign me, eh?
Nah, that's fair.
I was looking at this list, and it's really not the greatest of list. Like RFAs, like if you're talking about RFAs, yeah, you definitely got to sign Dylan Sandberg, to me, Morgan Barron. Those are the top of your list. You do have to sign Logan Stanley again. You can't let the guy just walk for nothing at this point, and maybe you can flip him for a 6th or 7th round pick. And then UFAs, maybe Nemestikov. Other than that, I don't want to see Dave Radich back here. And there's some guys there that they could end up signing on that list, but other than that, Nemestikov's the top of your list.
Yeah, yeah. Priority for me would be Dylan Sandberg. UFA, RFA, doesn't matter. You get him to something a little more steady, whether it be a bridge or whatever happens, he is a priority. Who stays? I think Nemestikov will stay. I think he likes it here, or he finds it acceptable here, and I think he finds a good role here, and he flourished when he was here. So I'd like to see him stay. Who goes? I was with you with Rittich, but then I looked at other goalies at his price point at 900,000. Like, who are we going to get? Like Malcolm Subban? Is that a step up?
No, probably about the
So,
same, maybe a bit, but he's younger, I guess.
do you a year younger? I think. Do you give who's a goalie coming? Arvidsson?
Moose goalie is Arvid Holm.
Home. That's it. Thank you.
Mikhail Burden, who ended up taking off last year, he is an
So,
UFA
do
this
you
year.
give
So
one of them an opportunity? So I don't know. I'm kind of a little okay with Riddick staying for 900,000, and I was gonna say Sam Gagner, but for 750, I don't know. So
yeah,
I don't honestly. I don't know.
I think maybe if Gagne is more of a role guy and comes in here and there, like he's your
Like he
13th
did.
forward or something,
Yeah.
not starting on that 4th line or whatever, it's time to see what some of these young guys can do on that 4th line. For Sandberg, are you signing him to 8 if you can get him for 8 years?
If you can get him at a good price for 8, yes.
Well, what would be a good price? I can't see him doing too low of a price for 8 years, right?
4.5.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't do that for 8 years because who knows? He's on an upward swing
Absolutely.
right now, right? So
But I think 4.5 would be good money for him to make in the next couple years.
yeah.
But then he could absolutely outgrow a contract like that.
Yeah, you might have to maybe look at a bridge before the RFA ends, and then kind of see where he goes from there.
Can he go through arbitration?
Yeah, I think he's restricted. Yeah, I don't know the rules.
Maybe
Actually, I
that might
shouldn't
be
say
a
that.
maybe
Yeah,
that might be a fair way. Like
yeah,
he deserves a decent price, and it'd be a amicable arbitration. They wouldn't go in it sour.
yeah.
Anyways,
He should definitely be in that top 4 next year. To me, the Jets should even look at if they can get rid of Schmidt Schmau just with that contract. It's a high end contract. He's making almost $6 million for the next 2 years. I know no one's going to take that, but they got to open up a spot back there.
yeah. Hot topics. Stanley Cup review. Vegas whooped their ass.
Yeah, I mean,
That's my review.
Vegas or the Panthers, Florida Panthers just ran out of gas, and then Bobrovsky
Yeah.
as well, really. And Vegas just showed they were the better team, and then with Kachuk really getting hurt and not being able to be his physical self and his pain in the butt kind of self, with the broken sternum, there was no chance really for Florida to overtake Vegas. Vegas was just too good.
Not enough horses.
Yeah.
Not enough horses. LTIR played a role in that. Your thoughts on LTIR?
You know what? It's there. So I don't blame teams for using it while it's there, but I think the NHL does need to do something about it, or look at it. Allowing teams to go over the cap, which is set for the whole season and all the playoffs. It's like, okay, it's gone. It just doesn't make sense to me, and it kind of, these teams are taking advantage of it. I don't blame them. They take advantage of it. It's there. But you've seen two teams here in Vegas with Stone, Kucherov in Tampa, and I think Kane or Chicago and Kane did it as well, right? They just take advantage of it, keep this guy who say, oh, he's not playing, he can't play, he may not play, and then all of a sudden, first game of the playoffs, he's back and doesn't miss a beat in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
So something's got to be done, and it's got to maybe be capped at some point, or maybe you lose half of that amount or something like that. Just they got to look at it.
I think it's fine. Like, what are you going to do? It's a rule. Every team in the league can do it. And if if you're willing to take that risk as a team to put that player on the sideline and hold his salary and not bring him back to the playoffs, all power to you. You've built obviously a good team if you can do without that big salary for a long time.
Well, but that's what these teams have been able to do. I don't blame them for doing it. I just think the NHL's got to look at something, because then when your salary goes from, which is a salary cap of 80 to now 96 in the playoffs, and Edmonton did it too. Edmonton had a high-end salary. So,
but what do you do though?
That.
Like,
you got to do something.
It's
then
not
get rid
fair.
of the salary cap altogether.
It's not fair to hold a team accountable for someone's pay on their cap when they're injured. Like, that really handicaps any team in any situation.
But then allow it once the playoffs start, the salary cap's still in play, and you got to figure something out from there.
Yeah, but by that time it's too late.
But you got to do something. It doesn't make sense.
You can't play the player.
If Stone came in and ended up playing half the playoffs or something, or Kucherov, same thing, then okay, they were injured. But once they get in there and they can magically play 16 to 30 games in a couple months, it kind of raises some question of what these teams are doing. Hey, and it's allowed by the NHL. Again, I don't blame these teams. Do it. If the Jets could do it, I wish they could do it. It's a lot. These teams have to be willing to spend that extra cash, right?
Absolutely. So, if Wheeler was hurt at midseason and they can do without him for that whole year and put him out until I think that would have been great if they did that.
Yeah, but they probably wouldn't have got out more salary, because they've been like, okay, we're good, 90 or 80 million, we're good. We can't go much more over that. So some teams can't do it. Some teams won't be able to do it. Some teams can. So
yeah, I don't have too much of an issue with it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I can see how people do have an issue with it. Way too early Stanley Cup predictions. You want to go first? I'll go first. I got the Bruins and the Knights in there, and Vegas Knights to repeat.
I'm going with the Oilers. I think they're finally going to get it together. I'm going to give it to Edmonton versus Carolina, but ultimately Carolina ends up winning the cup, and Carolina finally gets over that hump.
Predictions from NFL minicamp. Who's going to win Rookie of the Year? Defensive, who do you got?
I went with Jalen Carter from the Eagles there, just because he ended up in a great situation. He doesn't need to be the main guy. He's already got a great D-line. He can learn from a bunch of very good players that are already there. So his opportunity to get those sacks and beat up the quarterback are going to be there. So I'm going to go Jalen Carter as defensive rookie.
I got Devin Witherspoon from the Seahawks. Good physical corner. He'll match in with that system very well. No Legion of Boom. They can't do that ever again. That was just legendary. And he can also help stop the run. I wanted to give it to Jalen Carter, but I think because that D-line is so loaded, he won't get as much play time as someone like Witherspoon, who will probably be a starter from day one.
Oh, yeah.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. I got running back beyond Robinson. Dual threat running back. Might have to fight for some time because Cordarrelle Patterson is pretty darn good, but I think he'll be a dual threat back who'll get plenty of time to shine in that offense in a not very good defensive division.
I agree. I'm giving it to the same guy, Bijan Robinson, just because he ended up in a good situation. I know Atlanta had Tyler Algier, who looked pretty good last year, but like you say, Robinson's going to be used as a running back, a wide receiver. Arthur Smith's already drawing stuff up. So he's going to be used a lot. He's going to be the starter there. So he'll get the big opportunity to do it. So I agree. He'll end up winning the offensive rookie of the year.
Nice. Thoughts on head coach of Canada's soccer team, men's soccer team, John Herdman, stating that financial support for Soccer Canada is needed. More financial support. Thoughts on that?
I agree with him, man. I mean, even going into this CONCACAF Nations League semifinals and finals, I think it was even Panama started practicing 10 days before, whereas Canada only did 4, and the States ended up doing 11 to Canada's 4. And it showed in that final, where the States were way more ready for Canada right off the bat. So it's time. I mean, you've got a good group of young guys here with Canada. It's time to invest in this and see what they can do going into 2026. I mean, if you're ever going to do this, this is the time for Soccer Canada and Canada to invest.
You have coaches raising money to get proper airfare for the team to get to their destination. Yeah. Do you think coaches on Canada's junior hockey team are bloody doing fundraising to get airfare to their destination?
Never.
Are you kidding me? Soccer Canada, man. Get on board. You're one of the hosts. You cannot look bad at this event. Like, they're talking about maybe self-financing a training camp in September because they don't have enough financing from the governing body. Like, get your act together. We're going to look foolish hosting a World Cup.
Totally
what a joke. Yeah. Like, shout out.
You know what? I didn't have a brickhead for this week, but I'm going to give it to Canada Soccer just for this, because they totally deserve it. Not providing proper funding or anything to help this team into 2026. It's time for this team to take the next step, and it needs proper funding for it. So they're my brickhead.
And this is not about competing. This is about trying to win the World Cup. They got a free friggin' pass to the World Cup.
Yeah.
You're not qualifying. You're in.
Yeah.
Oh, pisses me
and
off.
It's time to win a game. You need to finally win that first game.
Yes.
In World Cup play, man. It's time.
You got your first goal. Now get your first. Enough of this. We're happy to be here mentality.
Yeah.
F that, man. Soccer Canada, get your act together. We're happy to be here. We're happy to host it and win it. That should be what's going on.
Yeah, you want kids to continue on and play in this program. If they see this, once a kid reaches a certain age, he's going to be like, hey, can I play from maybe my parents' home country, or can I play for Canada? They're going to go to the other way.
Foolish. Let's go to talk about good people. Shout outs. I got a shout out to the folks who organized and participated in the Manitoba Marathon, Father's Day tradition. Beautiful day yesterday. We hope everyone had a safe and fun time. So shout out to all the Manitoba Marathoners.
Yeah, I'm going to give a shout out to the 4 Manitobans who are part of the Vegas Golden Knights Stanley Cup Championship. Keegan Colasar, Brett Howden, Zach Whitecloud, and Mark Stone. Congrats to them. Shout out to them.
Shout out to Keegan Colasar, son of KD Williams, number 44 from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Benny, you have anything to say to our friends?
You know what? Thanks a lot for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and follow, and have a good one.
And to steal the words of Ed Whalen, in the meantime and between time, that's it. Another edition of Ray and Benny Talk Sports. Didn't finish this one. Hey, friends and neighbors, don't forget to check us out online on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Ray Benny Sports. And don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Leave a like, leave a comment, tell us what you think.